So, you think you're not narcissistic? Are you willing to take a few minutes turning the magnifying glass on yourself with me to find out? Actually look at yourself for just a few minutes? But wait, maybe that sounds too scary for your ego. So before you click away, let's set the tone. We're not here to accuse or call you a narcissist. We're here to examine and explore. In pop culture, narcissist is basically a dirty word we use to describe toxic, arrogant people. But in psychology, it's a lot more nuanced than that. And I promise you, if you watch this video to the end, you'll feel better for it. Narcissism isn't a light switch that's either on or off. It exists on a spectrum. It's a set of defense mechanisms that everyone uses to some degree to protect their ego and self-esteem. The truth is, even the most empathetic people among us have blind spots, everyday behaviors that leak into our relationships that could be perceived as narcissistic by the people around us. I'm inviting you to do a little self-audit. I'm going to walk you through 3 examples of everyday behaviors. If you recognize yourself in them, don't panic. It's actually a good thing. It means you have self-awareness. And if you have self-awareness, you can make changes. If you want to. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you some actionable ways to shift any behaviors you don't want, so you can build deeper connections and actually earn more respect from the people around you. Okay, take a breath. Let's look in the mirror. Have you ever been in a conversation where a friend is telling you a story? Let's say they're telling you about a trip they took to Italy. They're talking about the food, the architecture, and almost involuntarily, before they finish their story, you feel the need to jump in. Oh my God, Italy! I went to France last year and the food there was unbelievable. Let me tell you about this bakery I went to. Is this something you do? From a psychological perspective, this is incredibly common. We do this because we want to connect. We think, I'll share my similar experience to show I understand. But functionally, what's happening is a subtle centering of the self, where you hijack the spotlight. When you do this, you aren't holding space for their experience. You're using their experience as a springboard for your experience. Over time, people around you may start to feel like you aren't actually listening to them, but are rather just waiting for your turn to talk about yourself. It stems from an underlying need to maintain a sense of importance or control in the interaction. When you hear the word narcissist, you probably picture someone loud, bragging at a party, but there's a quieter version, the covert narcissist. Think about yourself in a group setting. Do you frequently find yourself quietly judging the people around you? When a coworker makes a mistake or a friend makes a decision you wouldn't make, do you internally roll your eyes? Do you often feel like you are the only sane, rational, or competent one in the room? If you don't brag out loud, you might think you're not narcissistic, but internally, you're maintaining a hierarchy where you can feel you are at the top. Psychologically, this is a defense mechanism. By tearing others down in your mind, you artificially elevate your own self-worth. It protects a fragile ego from feeling inadequate. The problem is, this quiet superiority leaks out in your body language and your tone. People can feel that you are looking down on them, even if you never say a word, and that can destroy trust. Trait number 3. The empathy disconnect during conflict. Imagine someone you care about is upset with you. Maybe they feel let down or they think you are insensitive. When they come to you with this, what is your immediate reaction? Do you instantly go into defense mode? Do you start mentally building a case for why their reaction is unfair to you? Do you find yourself thinking, well, I did X for them last week, so they have no right to be mad about Y today? If you do this, you're keeping score. One of the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder is a lack of empathy. But in everyday life, a lack of empathy doesn't mean you're a robot. It means that when your ego is threatened, like when someone is mad at you, your empathy shuts down to protect you from feeling shame. Instead of holding space for their emotional reality, you make the conflict about you. You make it about how their anger is an inconvenience or an injustice to you. When this happens, the other person doesn't feel seen and the relationship takes a hit. So, if you saw yourself in one, two, or even all three of those examples, what does that mean? It certainly doesn't mean you have a personality disorder. Clinical narcissistic personality disorder affects roughly 1% of the general population, but narcissistic traits, those are universal human defense mechanisms. We usually develop these traits in childhood. They are survival tools. If you grew up in an environment where you felt unseen, or where you were only praised for achievements, or where vulnerability was punished, your brain creates a shield. Psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott called this the false self. It's a mask we wear to appear flawless, self-sufficient, and superior to protect the true self underneath, which feels vulnerable, ordinary, and afraid of being hurt. When you hijack a conversation, when you quietly judge others, or when you refuse to empathize during a conflict, that's your false self working overtime to make sure you never feel small, stupid, or rejected. It's completely understandable why we build this armor. But the tragedy is, although armor keeps out the bad stuff, it also keeps out the love. The very behaviors you use to protect yourself are likely the behaviors preventing you from having the deep, secure relationships you actually want. So how do we take the armor off? How do we shift these behaviors to gain the genuine respect and connection we actually crave? Here are some practical steps. Step 1, the one breath rule. Next time you're in a conversation and you feel that urge to pivot the story to yourself, stop. Take one full breath after the other person finishes speaking. Fight the urge to change the conversation in a way that relates it to your life. Instead, just say, "Tell me more about that," or "That sounds amazing. What was the highlight for you?" There will be plenty of time for you to talk about your trip to France. It feels uncomfortable at first to not be the center of the conversation, but watch what happens. People will naturally gravitate toward you because you make them feel heard. Ironically, by stepping back, you become more respected. Step 2, separate your ego from feedback. The next time someone is upset with you, practice saying, "I'm sorry that my action made you feel X." You don't have to agree with their emotional reaction. You don't have to admit you're a terrible person. You just have to validate their reality. By dropping the scoreboard and just letting them be upset, you drop the defensive shield. You'll find that conflicts resolve in minutes instead of days. Step 3, embrace being ordinary. This is the hardest one. The paradox of narcissism is that the constant pursuit of being special or the best actually isolates you. True self-esteem isn't thinking you're better than everyone else. True self-esteem is knowing you are enough, exactly as you are, flaws and all. Letting go of the need to be the smartest, the most successful, or the most put together person in the room allows you to just be human, and people respect those who are secure enough to be human. If you noticed yourself in any of the examples we discussed today, I want you to take a second and appreciate yourself for watching this video to the end. It is incredibly difficult to look at our own flaws. Most people never do. The fact that you took time to audit your own behavior means your true self is in the driver's seat. You have the capacity and power to change if you want to. We all have blind spots when it comes to ourselves, and there might be other sensitive parts of our personality hiding in plain sight. In the next video, we're going to look at another psychological pattern, one that might be sabotaging your life without you even realizing it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Drop a comment below if you recognize any of these traits in yourself and if you found this useful. Are you going to change anything? Thank you for doing the brave work. See you next time.